Thanks, Roland, Mr. Chair.
All right, very good. I'll call the October 8th meeting of the West Dakota Water Development District to order. And the first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. Are you ready, Dan?
Yep.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Next microphone here.
Next item is a roll call by Dan.
The roll call, October 8th, 2024. West Dakota Water Development District. Coth.
Here.
Yerke.
Here.
Driscoll.
Here.
McGregor.
Here.
Cheryl Rowe.
Here.
Mack.
Here.
Care.
Here.
I don't know why I used your first name, but
You just like it.
all present. We have a quorum.
Very good.
Majority vote is 4, 2/3 vote is 5.
Okay, thank you very much. Item number 3 is the approval of today's agenda. Is there any items on the agenda that need to be adjusted or changed? Seeing none, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes from the August 13th, 2024 meeting. And Dan had sent off a new copy, so the one in the packet is not correct. Did everybody get one? Every board member get the correct one?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
the minutes on the website are correct. It's just the packet that's in there.
Okay, very good. Any changes to this, to the last meeting's minutes?
I would suggest that we wait until the next meeting to approve them, in that we've not had the chance in advance to, look through them. I had let Dan know this morning when I found some errors, so, I would go back through them if I had the opportunity.
Is there an objection to not acting on it tonight?
I can certainly make a motion.
A motion.
I'll move that we defer approval of the minutes until our December meeting.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Seconded by Scott. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries. Item number 5 is conflict of interest disclosure. Is there any items on today's agenda that any of the board members would have a conflict of interest? If so, say so now.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Scott.
I have a conflict on, I believe it's item 15, the proposal from the Black Gap Owners Association. I do live in that development, and I am a member of the Homeowners Association, so I think I would have a conflict on that.
Okay, very good. Anybody else have a conflict? Seeing none, then we'll move on to number 6, the treasurer's report. Dan?
See if there's one by the sign sheet.
There you go, Cheryl.
Thanks.
Treasurer's report, please.
I'm going to stand by a microphone here. Okay, treasurer's report. We have property tax revenue received to date, $145,445. Interest, this is probably somewhat of an underestimate of interest because of the way it's calculated, but 19,228, then grants, which would be, in this case, it's the matching funds we got from fly fishers and who's the other?
Eamon Fish.
Game fish.
Game and
And
fish.
Dakota Trout.
And Dakota Trout, yeah.
Okay, all three of those. 28,600. So that results in revenue today of 193,273. Our tax levy will be 249,756. And Black Hills Community Bank, we have savings. And our normal checking account for our normal expenditures is 23,931. The grant money matching funds is in a separate account, a checking account, which, because it can't earn, we're not allowed to have it earn any interest. And that's the same number as above. 28,600. A couple CDs are at zero because they've matured, and the bottom line is the total funds are $828,184. Non-profit or non-project expenditures, which are office, things like that, my salary. To date, 21,793. And project expenditures, 55,917 for a total expenditures to date of 92,627. So if there are no questions, I'll jump to the projects page.
And I see you're expecting next year's tax levy to be $264,755, is that correct?
Yes, thank you. Yep, so next year, that was turned into the county auditor already,
Okay.
that request. And we've got, oh, by the way, I guess I should have mentioned, we now have a lot of our money in a Raymond James savings account, 500,652. So that was recently moved over from Black Hills Community Bank. Project, I guess you can look on the right-hand side and see how much is remaining obligated to each of those projects, but the total is $294,597. Note that there's an item for what the Water Smart Bureau of Rec Pactola Deerfield study, about a third of the way down, for $100,000. That was kind of set aside to pay what we anticipate BOR invoicing us for. And then there's another one under bar for that same project for $250,000. Any questions?
So basically, as I look at it, we've had revenues of 193,000, expenditures of 92,006. So we've had revenue about 100,000 more than expenditures so far this year.
Yeah, and it shows the budget, we're under budget too, but these numbers, of course.
But we've
to
approved
date.
about 150,000 of project expense that has not yet been due to be paid.
Well, about 294,000.
Well, for last year, what's this remaining in the budget project?
Oh, the budget.
143
Okay.
from
Yeah,
last year.
Yeah, for the budget,
Okay.
but we've approved things that aren't in the budget necessarily, which is what the second page.
So our total contingencies is how much? Is that on here somewhere?
Defined contingencies.
Well, the things we've approved that Have not yet
Oh,
been paid.
that would be on the second table. The sum of that right-hand column, I think, is what you're asking about. And that's $294,597.
Okay, 294,000. Okay, so at some point, we're gonna owe that amount to various projects.
Yeah,
Okay, and against that, we so far have $100,000 surplus in revenue this year and 880,000 in the.
yeah, we have some money. We have money. Then this page is just a Gantt chart of the projects and the kind of a timeline. So that's all I have, Mr. Chair. Is there any questions?
Any more questions for Dan on the treasurer's report?
I move approval of the report, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Scott, is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Cheryl to approve the treasurer's report. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. That leads us to our first, on item number 7, a request for a grant for Western Dakota Regional Water System. I do have a motion I'm going to make. Dan, if you could put that up.
He's given the information for the
Okay.
next one.
We'll just wait here a second, because I am going to make a motion on this
Here,
item.
I've got it up, Mr. Chair.
All right, I'm going to make a motion to grant Western Dakota Regional Water System the grant request of $25,000 for matching local funds to pay for services not allowed under their current funding sources. And that was included in the package that we received from them requesting this money. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Seconded by Craig. Discussion on the motion? Well, excuse, hold it. Cheryl, before we vote on this, would you like to address the board?
Well, I thank you for that, and also thanks for your many years of service as winding down. I have a short handout. I have just a short handout with a couple of items that might be of interest to you. And again, thank you for the continuation of this request, which is still being requested, if you will. Some of the funds we have used for USGS research of available water supplies for both groundwater and surface water in the Black Hills region. The second page of the handout is a graph of the various aquifers in the Black Hills area and the amount of appropriations approved by permits over the years. The heavy purple line is those of the Madison Formation, and of particular note, in 1980, the amount being requested to be appropriated was around 10,000 acre-feet per year. Today, almost 70,000. So, as you can see, there's been high demands, which in large part underscores the importance of the Western Dakota Regional Project to look at a new water source as well as moving available water throughout the Black Hills. The third page talks about the reclamation feasibility study. You may have seen in the news over the last week or so activity at the congressional level that we have been working with our delegation over the last 2.5 to 3 years in order to ultimately receive federal funds for a project of this magnitude, which is what almost all of the projects rely upon. You'll need to have a congressionally authorized feasibility study. Our delegation is approaching this in 2 ways. One is the reauthorization of the Rural Water Supply Act that was in effect from 2006 to 2016, and Senator Rounds has reintroduced that with Senator Klobuchar to move that along. What that would mean for us then is that the Bureau of Reclamation has authority to work with us on a feasibility study. And then last week, Senator Thune and Representative Johnson introduced another bill, which is to get authorization to just our project to move ahead with a feasibility study with Bureau of Reclamation. Both of those paths will help us get to the point where we need to be, which is to have an authorized feasibility study. And so we're very pleased with the progress that is being made. Now it's up to Congress to pass one or both of those particular pieces of legislation. And then finally, just a summary of the funding as it relates to the cost of a feasibility study, and a summary over since really the beginning of us raising money on the back page there as well. And again, thank you for allowing us to make a request for and asking West Dakota Water Development District for a $25,000 local match for our state Water Resources Management System grant. I'd be happy to answer any
Yeah,
questions.
is there any questions for Cheryl on the, based on the motion? Well, if not, we'll go ahead and vote then. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries. One no vote from Scott. So thank you for coming and sharing that information, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Okay, item number 8, action on a CPA proposal, which we have included in the packet. And Ron Coulter will handle this item.
Okay, as we had discussed at some of our previous meetings in more detail, the executive committee or portions of the executive committee have met with Anna DeSmit from DeSmit CPA Group on a couple different occasions, and now have received a proposal from her, which is on page 19 of the packet today. It pretty much identifies the kind of things that we're asking her to do for us going forward. They include the items that are listed there. I won't go through them, but what it'll do is it'll bring us from a spreadsheet-based accounting system into a QuickBooks online type system, where it'll be much simpler for the administrator to generate reports, and it'll have some checks and balances within it so that the inherent errors in working with a spreadsheet system are eliminated. It has a training component, and it also has a monthly bank reconciliation. So we've got some more eyes on our funds as we go forward, and eyes on our funds as we work with these federal entities that we're engaged with for these grant programs. So with that, I would move to approve the proposal from Anna DeSmit from the DeSmit CPA Group, and authorize the executive committee to execute an annually renewable contract with her.
Okay, is there a second to the motion?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Cheryl. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Ron. Okay, item 9, action/in-person presentation on the West Dakota Water Development District Administrator position. We had one applicant, and the applicant is here, and Thomas is going to introduce the
Okay,
Yeah.
so the one applicant today is Larry Stetler. Just doing a brief overview on the cover letter that he provided. He is currently a professor of geological engineering at South Dakota School of Mines and Technologies, and he is retiring and thinks this might be a fun gig. So I am going to pass it over to Mr. Stetler, Dr. Stetler, or Larry Stetler, whatever he prefers to use, just to give us a brief overview of anything that he would like to speak on showing interest in this admin position.
Okay, sure, thank you. So Larry Stetler, born and raised in Rapid City, educated at School of Mines, and then worked professionally around the western U.S. for 12 years before returning to grad school, and then been teaching here at School of Mines now for 28 years. And, you know, just looking at the clock, last August was 46 years of work, and I thought, well, that's probably about enough. So, and then Ron approached me. He was one of my students way back in the 90s, late 90s, in a class, and we've been working together ever since. And he approached me with this potential here, and, you know, I've worked with many agencies. I've worked on projects that were funded by West Dakota while I was in the department, and while the faculty who got the grant was still there. Never had one directly from West Dakota, but helped work on things. I've worked with USGS, I've worked with Game and Fish, I've worked with the county, the city, and various other entities locally on various water projects, surface water, stream water, shallow groundwater, contamination issues, and things like that. So I think my background is pretty well fitted into the water industry, and you know, when I started thinking about retirement, I didn't think I wanted to just walk off, and this seemed like a pretty nice opportunity to stay engaged and do something substantive. So.
And when would you be available to?
When?
When, yeah.
Looking at the schedule for the first January meeting will probably take place during my courses, and if you stay on Tuesdays, I'll have a lab on Tuesday afternoon. The March meeting is probably during spring break, so that might be okay. And then in May, I'm done with those obligations. So, you know, I might be able to assume the duties depending on how that January meeting goes, in January or March.
Our discussion with Dan is he's agreed to stay on until we make this transition.
Okay.
So, it's January, kind of what I heard was when we possibly would start meeting with Dan and going over stuff.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Or?
Yeah, meeting with him and going over. I won't be able to make the January meeting. I probably couldn't make.
Okay.
But looking at the calendar, I think that from there forward, I should be able to start slotting in. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions for Larry? Oh, Dan?
Yeah, when I started, there was an overlap, and both parties got paid for that, so I'm not sure if you need to talk about that or not, how much.
I would say we talk about it at the December meeting.
Okay.
You know, today we really wanted Larry to come and introduce himself and get to know the board members, and I'm going to be gone, but.
Yeah, that's what I hear. Yeah.
But anyway, it's a good way to get acquainted. You're acquainted with what we do, so anyway, does that sound good?
Should I?
And I have the motion that was given to me that seems to me we should have his name in the motion. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I
Are you
100%.
making the motion?
Yep.
Okay.
So, I move to approve Larry Stetler to become the program administrator with the executive board implementing a transition into the position.
I don't know how to spell stuff.
TLER.
Still,
I'll second the motion.
still,
So
STET. There.
There it is. I'll second the motion, Dan.
Yeah.
Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Pull the same sign. Motion carried. Thank you, Larry. Appreciate you coming.
Okay, thank you.
Looking forward to seeing you around.
Even if Ron was a student.
Okay, moving along here. Item 10 is an update on funds that transferred to Raymond James High Yield Account. And it says in parentheses, Raymond James will be sending an accounting next week, and Ron Colt's going to handle this item.
Yeah, so-
Our treasurer.
Yeah, so as reflected on page 8 of our packet of budget stuff, as well as on,
It's on page 20.
page 25, it shows, some of the things that have gone on between the board and Raymond James since we started with Raymond James in 2022. We were pretty successful in trying to take advantage of some favorable interest rates for CDs. And so you can see kind of the results of some of the CDs, the amounts, the rates, et cetera. I won't go into any detail there. A part of this chart that's not there basically shows the full accrued interest that we've got through our efforts with the CDs to date, and that's just about a little over $50,000. So we have been, I think, pretty good stewards of the money that's been, in our accounts. At this time, based on the advice we got from the folks at Raymond James, the CD rates are pretty much equivalent, more or less, to what they offered for a savings account. Essentially just similar to a savings account at a local bank. It's currently paying 4.65%, and it's renewable on a monthly basis as we go forward. So we'll be tracking that, but right now we have $500,000 more, about $501,000 in that savings account. And so those funds are available to us without any kind of strings attached in terms of, the CDs always have to be reach maturity before they're really available to us without a penalty. These funds are available to us immediately, and right now it appears to be the best interest rate we can get given the current climate. So just an update on where we're at. No action required, but it just helps you read the budget a little bit and to know kind of where we've been, with Raymond James since we started in 22.
Okay,
That's it.
thanks for the report.
So we're earning $3,900 a month on that?
I think right now we're earning $104 a day on that savings account alone. So,
I mean, just looking at your chart, that's for the 500 at 4.65, that's $3,891 a month per guy?
the interest paid on a monthly basis, yep, right. So,
Very good.
I guess, I think it's as good as we can do right now with having those funds
Yeah.
in a safe spot.
Okay. And what, and that savings account is with Raymond James?
It is,
Raymond James is paying?
yep.
Okay.
And they have a particular way of structuring it so that we are protected, with the FDIC insurance.
Oh,
And I'm not gonna go into the details on that, but I'm just gonna say that it is organized in such a fashion that we are protected.
and we still have those 4 CDs with them in addition?
We have 2 CDs that are still yet to mature.
Okay.
One is gonna be, I think it matures on December 6th, and the next one matures in March of 2025.
Okay. Good.
And so I guess we'll keep watching these rates and, do what we can, a few meetings ago, the board authorized the executive committee to kind of, work on this on a continuing basis, so we'll continue to track and work with Raymond James on that.
All we gotta do is find projects to spend it on.
Yeah, right.
Well, we got 300 grand, I guess, out there, and possibly up to another 2 here coming.
Yeah, we're heading in that direction. So any more discussion on that? And we'll move on to item 11. It's a proposal to make a bylaw change for director-sponsored requirements for projects. Since we're talking about projects, we historically have given funds, grant funds to different organizations, municipalities, and so forth for projects, and so we don't have a lot of involvement. But here recently, we're taking on these projects, and we're the lead sponsor on the project, and we're dealing with government agencies and so forth. So it might be a good time to make sure that we have representatives from the board involved with these projects, from talking to whoever's the ANR or the EPA or the Bureau of Reclamation or whoever we're working with. So rather than just have one individual do it. So did you put that up there?
I have your policy.
Yeah, so that, on page 20, on page 25 of the packet is this proposed policy, so, Ron and I worked on this, mainly Ron, but, do you have any input on that, Ron?
Well, again, as Chairman Bierke said, it seems to be in the best interest of the board to be sure that we have a consistent message that goes to these organizations. Things can get goofed up in communications if we have, a single director potentially dealing with an organization without a lot of coordination, and then things can get a bit confusing. We've had some recent examples where there wasn't necessarily a consistent message being brought forward to organizations when there were directors, involved. And so we don't want that to happen. I don't think it looks good for us. It doesn't do us any good to have inconsistent messaging. And so it's also just a protective message, I guess a protective mechanism, so that when the board goes forward with action, there's at least a small group of individuals that have been kind of the core group, always keeping the board informed. As I understand the way this process works, we talk about this today, and then if we think it's, something to pursue, then we authorize the secretary
Right.
to publicize it prior to our next meeting when we would actually be voting on this. It has to have some lead time before we actually
Yeah.
do anything.
And Dan, you said that we have to advertise it for, is it 15 days, or what is exactly the rule on that?
It needs to be, let's see if I have it here. I think it's in, did I say it? No. Sorry, it needs to be given to the secretary, is it 22 days, I think?
15.
Well, the secretary needs to distribute it to the directors 15 days before the meeting. But I think it needs to be submitted to the secretary. I could open it if you want to.
Yeah, anyway, I think the motion we need to do is to authorize the secretary to do that, what's required to change the bylaw. And so that we would
So
act,
we have to vote on that,
we would vote to authorize you to do
to
it.
send it?
Yeah, to send it. And then we would take action on it at the December meeting.
Okay, maximize that.
I think it's
Bylaw
just-
and policy amendments are the same.
25 days.
Proposed amendments to these bylaws shall be submitted to the secretary by a director at least 25 days prior to the regular meeting, at which such proposed amendments are to be considered by the board of directors. A copy of the proposed amendments shall be sent to each director by the secretary at least 15 days prior to the meeting at which such amendment are to be considered.
Okay.
So you could,
Does that take a 2/3 vote then at the December meeting to pass
So he
this?
has to mail it.
yes, there's another detail
Here
here.
it is, email. Or we can get them to
Can I keep going?
I think we did.
Yeah,
it
keep
before.
going.
I just emailed it.
We have two documents, one is bylaws and one is policies, and they both require the same process for amending them. My opinion is this might be better appropriate for a policy rather than the bylaws, but I'll just throw that out there.
Well,
Bylaws are kind of like things that never hardly ever change.
well, we're proposing to be a bylaw change, so unless anybody has a heartburn with it.
This is not an amendment of anything that exists now, it's just a new
Yes,
provision.
it is.
Why do we need this rather than just having the chairman, in appropriate circumstances, designate?
I think it
Members to work
needs, we need to have it in our bylaws, just, chairman comes and goes, and so it's in the bylaws. If somebody's a new chairman, they can read the bylaws and go by what it says.
Well, what's the definition of a project or initiative? I mean, anything that comes before the board? Like when the Pennington County Conservation District came in for their, $50,000, we would designate 3 of our members to work with them to keep us updated on that?
Well, that's a good question.
Oh, the way that I.
Or the
would see-
Green Valley Sanitation District that we've
We're
appropriated
not-
money
we're-
to, is that?
In those projects, we are granting them money, just like we did for Western Dakota Regional Water System. They have the management people, they're the ones that deal with the government, like Green Valley. We're not dealing with the DANR for that project.
But
That's
under
their
this,
project.
under this provision, it seems like we would appoint at least 3 of our members to work with Green Valley to maintain the information flow. I mean, project and initiatives isn't limited or defined by anything.
That's a good question. I don't know if I have the answer to it.
Well, the intent was project or initiatives that we as a board are sponsoring, such as the recent Water Smart grant application and all the coordination that took place there with the Bureau of Reclamation, and the one that's ongoing right now where we're attempting to get a 319 grant initiated with the DANR, which involves work with the DANR and lots of other different entities, as far as generating our cost share. So it would be projects that the board actually takes the initiative on versus the projects that we receive requests for.
Okay, how about participated? We just gave $25,000 to Cheryl. Aren't we participating in that effort?
Well, and that's where this language is just a draft language. We could change something if we think it's either too loose or too
Yeah,
restrictive.
if we need it to define that, and this is the time to do it.
That's what we want to do.
I think when we give a grant to, like the city of Keystone, or, we're just giving them money so they can manage their own project. We're not gonna manage that project. We've been doing that all along. But now, we're taking on projects ourselves.
So
That's really-
participated probably is a bad word. Maybe just sponsored or initiatives.
Yeah.
Sponsored or initiated.
Maybe the words need to be, you got a suggestion?
Or is
How
it
to change that?
We initiated,
Yeah,
projects that we have initiated.
right,
That West Dakota has initiated.
Yeah.
right.
Let's add that in there. That was a good question, Scott.
Yeah, that defines it a little better.
Did you want me to try to put that in as we speak here, or the secretary?
Yeah, if we can do that, because we're gonna authorize Cheryl to
Send it out.
send it out, so.
But we can just do it email, we don't have to mail it, correct?
Correct.
So we need to have the wording correct here, at this meeting, so she can do that.
So should this say projects or initiatives?
Projects initiated by West Dakota Water Development District.
So we cross out everything from or to in the first sentence.
Projects or initiatives to be sponsored by,
And then we say projects initiated by
West Dakota.
West Dakota.
okay, you got it.
Would it be clearer if we said projects initiated and managed by West Dakota?
Sure.
We could
Because
make-
otherwise, it's like,
Yeah.
these other entities, Green Valley and such, are
I
actually
think
managing their
That's
projects.
a good idea.
Sure.
Let's add that in there.
Initiated and managed. Okay,
Looking at, I don't think,
so let it be written, so let it be done.
okay. Is there any other wording in there that we think needs to be tweeted before we assign Cheryl to go forward? Nobody's saying anything. So is there a motion to authorize the secretary to do that?
So moved.
By Ron and seconded by
I'll second.
Craig. Okay, discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Nobody saying anything.
Aye.
Aye.
This is just under
Oh,
amendment.
sorry. Yeah.
I'm still reading this.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's a good discussion on that item.
We're not done yet. We've got to vote on the amended We just voted on the amendment. We got to vote on the
Yeah.
policies amended.
So,
No,
Not
not yet.
not here, not tonight.
Next time.
Okay, we're deferring that to the next time.
December meeting,
Yeah, with the
After I send out
advertising.
the
So,
email
so now Cheryl has to
Okay.
inform us all about this.
yes.
with the corrected text.
We want to do it according to,
Is there anybody here that hasn't been informed about it?
Still, to follow the rules.
we're just going by what the bylaw said we have to do. Okay, thank you very much for that discussion. Item number 12, update on the startup of the BOR Water Smart Study. Don, that's yours.
So this will be brief. All of the various things have been accomplished that we needed to as a board with the help of our administrator and with BAR. So we have all the correct engagement with the federal government grant system in place now. And BAR was out this past week. And they left today. They did the physical survey of the cross sections in the Rapid Creek watershed that they needed to do to inform, some of the routing modeling that'll be done on the creek. And so they'll be taking that back and beginning to work on development of the riverware model in conjunction with the expert riverware modeler that they have as a subcontractor. So that's going to be taking place in the month of October, early November. Director Berkey and I actually had lunch with the city and the Bureau and BAR today, because they gave us kind of an update, and so everybody's sort of on board with what's going on. And the Bureau has uploaded, I guess, a pile of documents to the SharePoint site that BAR has to help them begin to collect the data that they need from the Bureau to inform that riverware model. So it is underway.
Good. Okay, thanks for that update. Item 13 is approved funding of
Just
$35,000.
a point of personal interest, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
This is one of those projects that the last policy we talked about would be applicable to.
That's correct.
Yes.
That is correct. You bet. So item 13 is approved funding of $35,685 over a 3-year time frame for operation of the Rhodes Fork near Roxford and Castle Creek above Deerfield stream gauges per joint funding agreement with the USGS. And this is the second vote because it is a $35,000 amount, and we have to do 2 votes to approve it. So this is the second vote. And Dan Driscoll, this is your item.
So you see, Dan Mullally has the motion up there, and before I make it, we had gone through all of this a couple of months ago. So the 2 main changes: the funding amount is larger than usual because it's a 3-year agreement instead of a single-year agreement, and the reason for that was a change in the arrangements for Rhodes Fork. Basically, the U.S. Forest Service had some funding. They were interested in helping fund that gauge. I had raised the concept of scaling it back from what is called a continuous record gauge to what's called a miscellaneous record gauge, just occasional measurements. We had funded it through last year kind of on an interim basis, and then the Forest Service came forward with funding to pick up, I believe it was $25,000 they had that they could put towards it over a 3-year time frame. So this would, in essence, continue the Rhodes Fork gauge as a continuous record gauge for a 3-year period, utilizing the Forest Service funds, and then the Castle Creek gauge similarly. Actually, I believe Bureau of Reclamation is a partner on that gauge as well. So with that as background, I'll move to approve funding of $35,685 over a 3-year time frame with the rest of the wording as indicated there.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Seconded by Craig. Discussion on the motion. I will point out one thing. we've been paying about, was it about 16,000 a year for each one of those the gauging stations. So this is a 3 year, so you can see we're actually paying less per year than we were historically. Is that correct?
It's less per year because the Forest Service is picking up part of the
Right.
share, and exactly what the amount is,
But
I'm
for-
not sure, but in essence, we're saving $25,000 over 3 years.
Yeah, that was my point. So we're still doing the recording and getting the same things that we accomplished with our funding, doing it ourselves.
Well, there is another stakeholder involved.
Oh, yeah.
It's a
Yes,
useful
yes.
thing.
Okay, is there any more discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thanks, Dan. All right, here's somebody's phone.
I'm dialing in Chris Dozark.
Oh, okay, that's right. Well, while he's coming on, item 14 is approved changes to our application for funding of the EPA Section 319 Watershed Improvement Project relative to item number 7 from our August 13th meeting. And Dan, that's your item?
That's correct, and I've got Chris Dozark on the line here, who has been, whom we've been working with for almost a year now in working towards applying to this grant application. Chris, are you with us there and able to hear well?
Yep, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yep, so we've got you next to a microphone. I'll provide a little bit of background here. I'm not going to make a motion on this. It's mostly an update. I'll provide a little bit of background and then turn it over to Chris for some comments, insights. So on page 27 is kind of the key ingredient, is the budget table that we had approved initially at our July meeting, or at least similar to it. There may have been some tweaks, but in essence, conceptually, it was the same thing, that for a request from EPA 319 program of $600,000, requiring $400,000 in non-federal match for a total of $1 million project, and West Dakota was committing to providing up to as much as $200,000 of the non-federal match with cash from West Dakota. So that's page 27, and then we've ended up with a fairly substantial change to the budget for a couple of reasons here, and I'll give the short story on it, and then, like I say, turn it over to Chris for some comments. So basically what happened is it's dropped from what had been a $1 million project. What's shown here is $533,000 total, and the reason for that is that there was an invitation given out to attend a field trip here along Rapid Creek to look at some of the potential work that was being done. That was attended by EPA, and the EPA representative, in essence, ended up recommending that some stream restoration work that was a major, below Pactola, that was one of the main components being proposed. Really, in order to do that work, it was going to require development of a watershed protection plan for Rapid Creek. So in this table on the left-hand column, as soon as you get down, a couple boxes down under Objective 1 is sole source erosion control and watershed planning. Under that, Product 3 is listed as a protection plan for Segment 2 of Rapid Creek, and Product 4 is a protection plan for Segment 3 of Rapid Creek. Segment 2 runs from Pactola Dam to Canyon Lake, and then Segment 3 from Canyon Lake to essentially downstream part of Rapid City, or perhaps a bit beyond the city limits. So the funding amounts that are listed there are very preliminary. Really don't know what to expect on that, so those essentially are placeholders. But that is the main reason for the reductions in funding. So the request shown here to EPA is $301,200. The match being the sum of the federal match is $231,800, and I don't show it on this table, but that pencils out, rather than 60% EPA and 40% non-federal, it makes the non-federal share 43.5%. Slightly above the amount that we would really need to basically put up. So today I forwarded an email from Chris, and I'll let him kind of work through that, but essentially the main suggestion there is that we could up the request from EPA through the 319 program to $320,000. If we would adjust the non-federal by just a few dollars here and there, that would come out to a 60-40 match. And so I guess any corrections to what I've said, Chris, and why don't you just take it from there?
No, that all sounds good. Like Dan said, this kind of came about through our little tour with Margaret Stebbins, our EPA, the state's EPA counterpart, and the tour that we had was really good. Showed some projects that I think could be valuable to do in the future, but when we kind of wrapped everything up, it was kind of apparent that really what we need is a plan on how to address all these things. So it's fairly new to us, and actually pretty new to Region 8, which is the region that we're in with the EPA. So far there's only been one state, Montana, that has done a protection plan. So it's pretty new for everybody. So, but that's really what we need for these two segments of Rapid Creek. So that's kind of the focus of where we'd probably go with this first segment of this project. And then that would lead into, hopefully future work done throughout those two segments as well as downstream from there. But because those two segments of Rapid Creek are not listed as impaired for mainly TSS and E. coli is what we generally work on, but they're not listed for anything, is really where the path led to a protection plan. So, but like Dan said, generally with our 319 stuff, we kind of work with round numbers. So, on page 28 here where it says 301,200, we probably would cut that to 300. So, the thought being that just go ahead and bump that up to 320,000. It would kind of take care of the match stuff, as well as just making it a round number for us. And then, the process moving forward would be you guys got your application in before the October 1st deadline, so the next process will be an internal review through DANR sometime in November, and then have the task force meeting December 10th here in Pierre, where the task force will give their recommendations, and generally they kind of go along with what we recommend. And then after that, it goes to the Board of Water and Natural Resources, and then they take the non-point source task force recommendations. And then the money will be available probably next June, July, somewhere in there. So looking at June, July of 2025 to get the funding. So I think at this point I'll take any questions if anybody has any.
One question I'll throw out, Chris, in terms of adjusting this budget slightly, I guess one question, the rest of the budget table you think is a good enough starting point, correct?
Yeah, the farther I get into this, the more I realize that budget tables are pretty fluid. So, yeah, we can always adjust numbers up and down depending on. I have no idea how much a protection plan is going to cost. So, yeah, we can adjust those numbers over time. Or, if the implementation of Star Village doesn't happen in the next 2-3 years, that's not a big deal either. We can adjust numbers there. And this is not a one-time, if we cut something somewhere, it doesn't mean that you can't put it in there next year or that we can't come back in next year. If a protection plan happens in the first 6 months and we figure out that we can implement some stuff, then we can always come back in next October.
Right.
So that's the beauty of 319 is it's not a one and done deal. If we need to amend stuff, we can definitely amend it. That type of thing.
So beyond, I've got actually 2 more questions. One, and then I'll open it up to the rest of the group. One would be, would you like to see this adjustment to our budget before you do your internal review and prior to sending it out to the task force? Yeah.
Yeah, preferably it would be nice to have it in the next couple weeks, probably.
Right. And so then the last thing you had mentioned the possibility of the SRF funds in your email. Would you like to walk the group through that a little bit, what the ramifications would be?
Yeah, so let's say, every year we get $200,000 of clean water SRF funds from the folks upstairs, the financial people. And basically what that is it just counts as match. It's state dollars, essentially. So let's just say you bump your 319 ask up to $320,000. And we end up awarding you guys $200,000 of clean water SRF. So that would basically replace $200,000 of 319 funds with clean water SRF funds. So then we might take like $120,000 of 319, $200,000 of clean water SRF, and the budget all stays the same. But it would take it counts as match. So it's we generally give it to like our newer projects or some of the projects that don't have a lot of partners built up yet, or some issues with getting match. So yeah, it's just it's a nice gift from upstairs that helps newer projects get started and not have to worry about match as much as established projects such as the Belfouche, which has been around for 20 years. So,
and there is no guarantee on those SRF funds, but
there is no, but we are guaranteed the 200,000. It's just through the internal review and task force, kind of deciding where those $200,000 go. They will be awarded to one of the 4 projects that have come in. So yours being one, the Belfouche is sent in, and the Big Sioux and the Prairie Coteau projects have all applied for this round's funding. So.
Ron Colt's got a question.
Well, not so much a question, but I just wanted to circle back again a little bit, Chris, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's important for the group to understand. On our table on page 28, we've got the 2 protection plans. And the real reason that we need to do those protection plans, even though restoration of streams is a well-accepted practice in many states, South Dakota does not list what's commonly referred to as hydromodification. In other words, man-caused kind of things in streams as a physical impairment. And so in order to get around that, that's why we have to do a protection plan. It's not a listed impairment in South Dakota, and from the information we get, trying to get it as a listed impairment would be much more difficult than writing a protection plan that would have more value and would also accomplish the same purpose. So that's just an important element to open the door to a lot of different kinds of work in the Rapid Creek watershed, where there's been physical changes to stream systems that really have messed them up. Was that close?
So in order to, if we were to list it for a hydro modification, the earliest we could probably do that would be in it would be in the 2026 IR integrated report, and we'd probably have to change some minds. So the protection plan would probably be the best and easiest way to move this forward.
Any more questions for Chris?
Yeah, I guess make sure everybody is clear. If we would receive the SRF funds, then would that in essence reduce the contribution that West Dakota would be making? You say it would count as match, so for every dollar of SRF, would the West Dakota contribution be reduced by $1? Or is it?
Definitely could be. Yeah. Yep.
Or I mean, after a year or two, we could come back for more funding and then basically use whatever's not spoken for other match.
Right.
Right. I mean, there are many different scenarios.
Yeah. Yep.
But in essence, it does count towards the non-federal match.
It would. The SRF money would. Yep.
Right. So maybe another question, we've had discussions with various groups, in terms of potentially contributing non-federal funds. There's no need for us to list any of those within a budget prior to the task force meeting or when it goes to the board, correct? That it would help if we bring like letters of support, things like that, but we do not need firm contributions in hand until we get deeper into the project.
Yep, I would agree with that. I know we had a couple of conversations with the fly fishermen, as well as game fishing parks, and I think I know fly fishermen are definitely interested in helping out, and we don't need to have a firm, like you said, we don't need to have a firm commitment from them, or same thing with game fishing parks. So I think at this point, just having what you guys pledged, plus the potential to get that clean water SRF, the likelihood of getting that, I will say that, we probably it would be nice to let the task force know that we have had discussions with game fishing parks and the fly fishermen when we give presentation at the task force, just letting them know that it's not just us and you that are looking at this as being beneficial. So I'll say that.
So I think a couple other discussion items would be useful. Our meeting's gone very quickly today. We've got a fair amount of time available. So in the product number 5, implementing erosion control for Star Village is one of the few places. That's the first entry under the column for local match, where we show basically what would be 20% of the total there between EPA, West Dakota, and then local match. I guess one of the factors, I was initially a bit taken aback that, we didn't have other major sources of match shown, what it was that you had suggested here for an initial preliminary budget. And I guess part of the thought process has been for a lot of this being a planning process, that that's something that you really felt could be funded largely by 319 and then West Dakota as an entity, interested entity.
I think what we need to do on this item is get together with the board members that are involved with that, and then have a discussion with Deanna rather than have
Sure.
it go on here.
Okay,
Just
fair enough.
okay. Anything else on this item?
I guess one question that had come up was regarding objective number 2, the soil health and riparian health end of things. I guess the question had been, to what extent might we expect participation in that, given that, you know, the Pennington Conservation District has a program, a CIS project going on that's not had a lot of sign up yet. So I guess I wouldn't mind hearing to what extent you think we might actually see participation in that.
I guess on my end of things, with our statewide riparian buffer initiative, it would just make sense in my mind to keep that stuff in there, and I think there will be some participation downstream. And the downstream segments, I believe it's 3, 4, 5 are all listed for E. coli, and then I believe segment 5 is listed for total suspended solids as well, so we don't have to worry as much down there about a protection plan because we're implementing on impaired water bodies. So just having that stuff available, I think, will help us out with the riparian buffer initiative statewide, as well as having the ability to maybe double up and square things off through this project.
And
so a lot of these, when we do riparian buffers, you generally try and do like a 50 to 120 foot buffer on the stream, which, you know, streams bend and wind and stuff like that, and farmers and ranchers don't like to put in fences that aren't square. So having the ability here maybe to square some things up would really be beneficial.
And I guess at this time, I think it'd be good to introduce Nate Anderson, who's sitting here, and he is a fairly new employee with DANR, and he says he works in the RBI program, and I thought, oh, that must be the Rotating Basin Initiative, but in fact it's riparian buffer. And so, Nate, would you want to comment?
Yeah, so I guess going off of what Chris said is essentially the riparian buffers is just a process on Rapid Creek right now. You know, we don't have any confirmed contracts, all that kind of stuff. It's up to the landowners. And that's more of an implementation project for impaired streams, stuff like that. And like Chris said, segments 3, 4, and 5 are impaired for E. coli and TSS, so those riparian buffers would really work well. This protection plan would mainly focus on segments 2 and 3. So, yeah, I guess.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If under that item, if you know the Pennington County Conservation District has been trying to work with landowners out there, and we haven't gotten any projects down there because we're funding part of it. So, and I know would this money be available to assist a landowner that maybe didn't have enough money to meet their match, but they could throw this money in the pot and help them out?
As for on this budget? Or
I'm just talking about, you know, a project out there in the valley.
I mean, yeah, I guess I'm not familiar with your guys' program, but RBI, you know, is, this functions as a completely different entity as well. You know, we're looking at other areas beyond Rapid Creek. So yeah, if your program is not working out, then definitely reach out and let me know, you know, because then we can probably get an RBI going on their land. So,
okay.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Absolutely.
So is it accurate, assuming we end up funded, our application would he funded, you would provide assistance in contacting landowners and trying to find interest in in these in right, that part of the project. Yeah. So I mean, it should be considered a pretty realistic component. Yes. We hope.
Yeah, I think we'd definitely work with Bennington Conservation District and Nate himself. To address any of that. Plus, we've had a lot of other partners throughout the state. Ducks Unlimited, Pheasants Forever. Trying to think, the 319 coordinators have all brought like RBI contracts to us. So, it doesn't have to be just DANR or West Dakota or Pennington Conservation District either. It could be any partner, really.
All right, are we through? Or?
Any of the other directors have questions? Well, I guess, like I say, I did not make a motion. I don't necessarily feel that we need one. Nobody seems to be indicating a need to change anything, so seems like we've got a comfort level. And
yeah, well, appreciate Chris and Nate coming here, and we always learn something when you guys are around, so appreciate you coming.
Yeah. Well, I think it'll be a really cool project. We haven't done a whole lot in the hills in a while, and it's definitely a area that needs protection, needs a project. So I think it'll be a really cool project.
All right, thanks again.
Well, and I think as long as we're still on this agenda item, I guess it's been Ron and Chairman Bierke and myself that have been primarily working on this. I don't think we probably want to delve into the details of this little update today, but you say you'd like to see some sort of an update, within the next couple of weeks or so. So we'll compare notes and get with you, Chris.
Awesome. Sounds good. Appreciate it.
Thanks for your time, Chris.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, good discussion. We'll move on to item 15, Black Gap Homeowners Association has a grant request proposal for their pond reclamation and improvement project. This is just for discussion only, and I know we have some representatives from Black Gap here. And Robin, I understand you're there.
You want me to introduce him?
Oh, yeah, you want to introduce him?
Or
sure, I am.
Can I?
Oh.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah, why don't you introduce him?
Okay. You ready to go?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. We have here some members of the Black Gap. Well, let me first start out. Black Gap is a residential development of about 120, 130 homes down on Highway 79, about 4 miles south of town. And I've lived out there since 2004, which is why I have a conflict here. So Robin Whitcup here from the Board of Directors of our Homeowners Association. Who else did I see over there? Lisa and Matt. And Emily, I don't know Emily.
Jesse.
Are all here to fill you in on the plan that we've got for revitalizing a pond that we have within the confines of the district that is subject to erosion and environmental degradation from the development, and an old long-standing dam that was there pre-existing the development that a rancher put in some time ago that is apparently unbeknownst to us is actually on the state records and under state surveillance. So these folks have all shown up today to give you a preliminary assessment of the proposal we are making and a funding request from the board to help with that project. So,
Thank you,
if you want to take it on.
Sure. Thank you, Scott. And I just wanted to start out first. My name is Robin Whitcup. I am treasurer on the Homeowners Association board. Lisa Borman is also here. She's the president of our Homeowners Association. And we also have, we had a task force that we put together this year, and a few residents are here also to participate. We have Emily, Matt, and Jesse that all are in the development. And we would like to take the opportunity to thank you for giving us the platform here to discuss and share with you about our area and see what potential we can have to work forward or work together to achieve our goals. So, as Scott said, we have a pond in our development that we've dug in and we've done quite a bit of investigation and learning. And we have at the beginning, the pond was approximately a 5-acre sized pond that was built for fire protection, stock use, and recreational fish or aquatic fish habitat. When the development was established quite a few years ago and people started moving into the area, the pond was kind of taken over and transitioned to mainly a recreational type use. A lot of the people in our development are looking forward to being able to take advantage of it more than we have the opportunity to right now because of some of the degradation and limitations that the pond has. In the past, the pond was created in 1938. Actually, a dam was built by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. It's a 14-foot dam. It is on the National Registry, and because of the size, it is regulated by the South Dakota Safety Dam rules. So because of the limitation and the growth of cattails, et cetera, in the area, we've lost some of the size, and we really want to get it back to its former days, its glory days, and get it back into a condition where we can really start to be good stewards of the land and the water. So right now, we've got quite a bit of cattails that are growing. We've got a lot of sediment that's come down the watershed, the creek area, and filled in quite a bit of sediment into the pond area and created a large sandbar. In addition to that, the sediment and stuff has caused some contamination to the water quality. We do have some E. coli that has leached into the area, which has created some numbers that it passes the South Dakota state requirement, but it does not allow for immersion, which basically tells us that we can kayak and we can fish in it, but we can't swim in it. And we'd like to be able to improve that. Right now, the size of the pond has diminished to approximately 1.5 to 2 acres. We want to take it back to its original size, and that's going to take quite a bit of work. So we also found that we've had a lot of debris and trees growing on the dam that we have had to take some time to really kind of get the dam in the proper condition to be able to hold that amount of water and allow us to be able to utilize the area appropriately. The HOA itself is in the process right now of fixing the dam, getting it back to the proper regulated condition so that it can hold the water. We've pulled out all the trees. We're in the process of adding bentonite and fixing the surface of the edges of the dam in preparation for where we want to go. Ultimately, the pond will need to be dredged, and we've contacted quite a few people just to get recommendations. We've been working with the Army Corps of Engineers. We've been working with DANR, as well as some local engineers from TerraSite for recommendations and plans for moving forward. Quite a few years ago, we had the South Dakota School of Mines. We had 2 students there actually come out and do a detailed investigation and present us with a report, and that is what we're using as the basis for our plans. The recommendations from them were to dredge out the pond, remove the cattails and the vegetation, get it down to its previous depth. Currently, it is probably between 2 and 4 foot, depending on where you are. We want to get it to 5 foot to start, for sure. And also, part of the problem because of the sediment buildup and stuff is because there was no sediment forebay or weir system initially put into the pond, mainly because it was for stock and fire protection. Since the use of the pond is going to transition to recreational use, we think it's appropriate to do that, especially with the development and urban housing type area that it is now. The recommendation from the School of Mines engineers as well as the terra site engineers is to get the sediment forebay and the weir system in place so that we have better control of anything that might be coming down the stream as urban runoff, etc., and be able to maintain that water quality in that area much better. Along with that, there is some area along the edges that is a little bit of a floodplain, and we have some walking trails that our residents just love to use that go around our pond. Unfortunately, in high water years, those trails tend to flood out because of the area. So the recommendation from the engineers we've been working on is to get those some embankments built in those areas to keep the natural flow of the water down the watershed area, moving into the pond, and get those trails put on top of the embankments so that we have trails that don't wash out, and also keep that water going down into the pond area and moving in its natural selection area. So. And then also after we get all that information, or pardon me, all those improvements in place, we're going to be working closely. We've had the water tested. Since when we do dredging and make these changes, the chemistry of the pond is going to change quite a bit, we anticipate. We're going to be working closely with the DANR and some other folks to be able to make sure we're testing the water on a regular basis. Keeping that water quality up to where we want to see it land, and also identifying any sources going forward that might be contributing to the water quality, so that those can be fixed either in our development or our surrounding neighbors' land. So if we are able to make these improvements and bring the pond back to its glory days, our hope and anticipation is that we're going to be able to improve in that area. On the north side, we'd like to be able to add picnic area, some benches for people to enjoy it, a dock, and also some aeration and fountains to keep the fish and the habitat there happy, and allow us to, again, maintain that water quality. Currently, we have a couple different species of fish. We would like to be able to introduce different types of fish in addition to what is there now. We've talked to the engineers about what we can do with the pond to enhance and keep the habitat favorable for different types of fish and breeding, etc. In addition to giving the habitat that is in our area a place to take advantage of the ponds, such as the deer, whatever different type of animal and wildlife species are in the area that can utilize the pond. So, yeah, we're really looking forward to being able to save it and become good stewards of that land, and also to be able to teach our kids and the residents that are in our area about what natural resources we have and the beautiful things that the Black Hills are offering even in our area. In the day and age we live in, and how kids tend to be on their devices and behind a screen, we just see the pond as a great opportunity to be able to keep our future generations not only interested in something outside of the electronics that are in their hands today, but to teach them to be good stewards and to save the area that we have at our fingertips here for posterity. So, with that being said, is there anything else that you would like to add, Lisa?
Just the fact, I think they give us, 5 years of life on pond. If we don't do anything with the pond, it will probably be gone in 5 years. We've also had Eric O'Connor come out with the wildfire mitigation, fire and safety, and he did agree of us having that. It would be a great resource for fire. They could come down and bucket up the water there just because it's such a dry prairie area, so that would be a nice addition for them to have.
Yes.
So I see on the photo on the bottom, there's another pond to the right side of that photo. So is that a stock pond for the rancher next to the development?
Actually, that is on private property next to us, and that is a small pond that they use for recreational purposes as well. They have some children they have a small dock in there. They have some children that like to use that for fishing and stuff.
So they're not using it as a stock pond.
That I would have to confirm. I know they have horses and such, but I can't speak fully at this point.
So I guess what I'm thinking is, if there's no, is there fencing between the two ponds?
Yes.
There is. Okay.
And the dam. The dam is built between the two.
Okay.
And right now.
So it is blocked off.
Yeah.
Okay.
And right now the water, like we have our culverts lower and we're gonna raise those so we can raise our water level. And right now that pond kind of, the way the culverts work, they're kind of going into that second pond. And that's kind of why the cattails, where they're at, so we're.
And research from before showed that this was the initial large stock pond, flowed into that stock pond, and then there was a third one, I don't know if in the same rancher's land or in another adjacent one that was, again, smaller, but each flowed into each one. And us improving our water quality, and this one allows others to be whatever they are. I don't even know if there's a third one left, or it's just
where does it end up going?
It flows. Our pond is built on top of a tributary that feeds Rapid Creek.
Okay.
And then after that, Cheyenne River. From what I understand, you guys probably know that a little bit better than I do. So.
I'd also like to point out that we've put a substantial commitment towards repairing the dam already. How much was that?
Right now, we were approved for $12,000, almost $13,000 of repairs, which we have begun at this point. So our HOA is investing that right now.
Any questions for our guests here?
The Rapid Creek Restoration Project that we've given like $30,000 to, I wonder if they can help them with this project?
Which project are you talking about?
The Rapid.
Is that the conservation district?
Yeah.
The conservation district
money. Perhaps they could use that money for this project. Put them in contact with them?
You'd have to ask them. I mean,
it might be a.
I don't know if it meets their criteria for what they're funding out there in the valley, but it doesn't hurt to find out.
My understanding when we gave them the money, that was for primarily riparian erosion control.
Yes. Yep. They were going to put some bars in Rapid Creek, and mainly for banks erosion control is what that money was going to be used for. Ron, do you have a question?
I don't know if it's a question or an observation, but I understand your focus on, trying to recover the integrity of the structure. But I'm looking at page on your kind of write-up, and it says objective of the project, following the School of Mines work, and there's 4 bullets on that, page 29. And the second and third one, has all of the source of sediment, that's filling the pond been addressed yet? I mean, do you know where it's coming from, upstream in the watershed?
Initially, a lot of the sediment came from when the development was in the stages of being built. A lot of the houses have already been built, land movement, et cetera, and all that has already been completed. So we don't anticipate that will be a very large amount of sediment that's still going to be coming from, digging foundations, that type of stuff. A lot of it is just stuff that has built up from that development that we want to go ahead, that there was nothing in place to kind of prevent that from seeping into the pond in the past. So by digging all this out and dredging it, we think that a large part of that will be removed. And then if we add the sediment forebay and all the embankments and stuff, we're going to be able to better manage controlling that sediment and any type of runoff that may come down that area in the future if there's development in the future. But most of the development along this area has already taken place, so we don't anticipate there to be large amounts.
So where's the sediment coming that's going to fill it in 5 years?
Well, most of that is because the pond right now is so low that it's at the right level to be able to, for cattails and vegetation. I mean, that's a big part of what's eating up our pond right now is the cattails are growing out, they die, that builds up sediment, more grow, and then as the years go, just that amount, and it's slowly just surrounding the pond we have with cattails and stuff. So as those cattails continue to grow, the pond is just shrinking in size from that.
So I was kind of wondering, it sounds to me like some of this was development driven to fill that pond with sediment from construction of homes out there in the streets and stuff. Is that a fair statement? Or?
I think it's probably a fair statement that over time the development in the area has contributed to this, and then just not having the mechanisms in place to be able to control that sediment.
And lowering the water level.
Yes.
Impacted.
There were a few years ago, there was a lowering of some culverts. It was actually a year of heavy rainfall, and there was some concern that the dam, the water was going to overflow the dam, and there could be a potential breach or weeping of the dam because of the amount of water. So there were some culverts that were lowered to allow more of the water to move downstream. And because of that, the depth of the pond was lowered to such a level that the vegetation and the cattails have been able to flourish extensively. So we want to bring that water level back up.
Have you talked to the developer about that? It seems to me that there would be some responsibility on their behalf of creating this part of this problem.
Do you have any comments on that, Lisa? At this point, I haven't had any conversations with the developer themselves. So.
I'd also like to add, this is an old reservoir, and it isn't uncommon for these older 100-year-old-ish reservoirs that were built back in that time period to fill up with sediment, whether it's due to development or not. We see this all across the state, where these start to fill with sediment, your water quality deteriorates, cattails take over, etc. There are sources of sediment in the watershed that we could address in the future. There's always sediment flowing into any lake, and that's where it would come that we would need to clean out every 5 years, or sporadically. But another part of the ongoing commitment would be to identify those erosional sources in the uplands and mitigate those or reduce those as much as possible. So it's an old reservoir. It's had a lot of development in it. It has septic fields in it, and it's basically it's due. It's time. It's full. It's the thing's this deep. I go out there and I try to fish in it, and there's a few bass and stuff in there, but it's kind of an eyesore at this point in its current state. And without some kind of serious maintenance, it's going to continue to fill in. It's just a shallow wetland.
And may I add, this was being another drought year. There's every cycle. This being a drought year, it turned out to be a really good time that things were low enough, just naturally. There's natural springs that feed the pond from the center. You can't see them, but they're around the development. But it's a dry year, and we were taking this opportunity to address the issues so that when water does raise up again, we're not going to have any worries about the dam and the integrity of that. We wanted to make sure we address that first, and then the other issues would be, cattail removal, but we need to hire larger equipment and removal of both junk material as well as
reclaiming the better material that's usable for future projects such as the sediment ponds ahead of it. So that was it.
Dan?
Have you identified any other potential partners? I see you've got a little blurb for project partners and contributions, but quite honestly, it looks like right now West Dakota was the only entity that you've identified as funding, other than the homeowners association, which seems like a pretty large request from my standpoint.
Yes, actually, West Dakota is the first entity that we've reached out to for assistance. We have been talking to not only people that are in the development that have the expertise that we need to be able to reclaim the pond, but also some area businesses and farmers to see if we can get in-kind matching. A lot of the homeowners are willing to put the labor in, and so a lot of the stuff that we're looking at is renting machinery, but then having people who are qualified within the division, or pardon me, the development, under the direction of and design of engineering folks to actually do the labor and do the work. So we're willing to and committed to putting in the work to get this done. And then some area businesses and farmers have also been gracious enough to donate some materials. We've been able to get a large donation of bentonite so that we are able to work with the dam. We're reaching out and working with another area business on donations for rock riprap around the dam. And one of our residents is donating the use of his labor and then also discounted rates of equipment so that we can do some stuff. So we are in the process of trying to do what we can and find other resources that could also contribute.
I'm kind of thinking in the lines of what Dan says. You're asking us for all this funding, a huge percentage of this project. And a lot of our history with other projects is that we provide some match money, but we're not to that high of a percentage. We've done not a similar job as what you're talking about, project that you're talking about. I can't think of any project that we funded that high of a percentage of the project without having, without the owner putting in a good chunk of it.
Sure. Yeah, we're an HOA, so our funding is limited based on what we can come up with. So we definitely understand and we appreciate that. We're going to continue to look and see if there's opportunities for us. At this point, we would just appreciate whatever help we could get. So we're going to continue down that path and just do the best that we can.
Have you got 100 and some homes out there? Is that right, Scott?
It's about 130.
30 is what we're going to.
So if you got 1,000 out of each one of them, you got half the project.
Pardon me?
If you got $1,000 for each home out there, you got half the project funded.
Granted, yeah, we do have some other expenses and stuff within the division or the development, and that is something that we are definitely going to be discussing. We just wanted to start here and see possibly what there was that you could assist with, and then based on what we hear from you, then we would take the next step.
I mean, this is a private little lake for an HOA, so it doesn't kind of fit our criteria really. If it were public, I think it would maybe be a little bit different, but since it's like a private thing.
For example, we put money into cleaning out Canyon Lake, which is a public park, a huge public park. And but we didn't fund 100% of that, or 85% or whatever this calculates out to be. You're asking for us to cough up a lot of money for this. And I don't know. I don't know if we voted on it, if it would pass.
Okay. And I can understand your point of view. But the people who live in our development, our taxpayers, are people in this community, and we also believe that our neighbors around us and downstream would also benefit from us being able to address the water quality issues and the other things that are happening, on the pond based on the condition it's in right now. So.
Any other comments from the board? Yes, Dan.
Question on the aeration for $30,000.
Yes.
How important is that to the success or to the objectives?
I think at some point aeration is going to assist with the water quality. Jesse, would you be able to possibly?
I would not say it's vital, no.
It is one of the recommendations that the engineers have talked to us about in regards to moving forward and maintaining and being able to provide appropriate habitat for fish. So that is why we kind of put that on our list of future improvements.
Did you talk to a contractor? I mean, that dredging seems like it's awful high for a 5-acre pond.
Yes, actually, the dredging was looked at and reviewed by Larson Excavating, and that is the estimate that they gave us to be able to dredge down to approximately 6 foot all the way around the pond. The one area that won't be addressed at this point is the very middle of the pond, because you can't reach that far in with a long reach excavator. Long-term plan was for the HOA on their own to work with the Department of Game, Fish and Parks and the City of Rapid City. Long-term, when they do dredging, they have an actual dredging machine that they coordinate with to dredge Canyon Lake and other areas like that.
We paid for it.
Pardon me?
We paid for it.
Oh, do you? Okay.
We did.
Okay.
One the Game, Fish and Parks is.
Okay, I think Terrace Site had mentioned that, but our plan was to reach out. We've had some discussion with them, but to reach out with them and try to coordinate with them in the future when they do the dredging of other areas, so that we would have access to a dredging machine and kind of piggyback onto when those get dredged in the future, so that we could get to the middle of the pond at that point. There'd be some expense.
The Game, Fish and Parks is up in Sturgis right now on the Lions Pond there on the east side of Sturgis. They're dredging that right now.
Oh, really? Okay.
I don't know if they're charging them anything for that, but.
Okay. That I wasn't aware of, but Terrasite did talk to us about reaching out to those groups and seeing if we could somehow utilize at the same time to get to the middle of the pond. So.
Right.
In a past life, I worked on a lot of small pond reclamations, actually small lake restorations, and one of the most efficient ways to get material out is to draw the pond down over the winter.
Yes.
And take the material out land-based, so you're not working in the water, you're not dealing with long stick excavators, you're working with a lot different kind of equipment, and the cost per yard dramatically drops.
Okay.
Dramatically drops. So I would encourage you to ask your engineers about a different mechanism, because the way that I understand it being proposed is probably the most cost per yard you can find.
Okay.
And hydraulic dredging with the Game and Fish machine is very inefficient.
Okay.
We found that out in Canyon Lake.
Okay.
Is that because it sucks both the dredging and a lot of water and tries to move both materials? Or?
It pumps water primarily.
Yeah, it's water.
And it takes forever to get any volume out.
They worked in Canyon Lake for a year.
Oh, wow.
But
Okay.
the best way is to draw the pond down, route the water around during the winter period, and just take it out in the wintertime with front-end loaders and excavators.
Yeah, an excavator.
Okay.
If you just drain the pond down.
Yeah, the cost goes way down.
That was part of our proposal with this contractor, is our hope was that we would be able to start sometime in November and December, and we were going to start draining the pond after we had the dam fixed, and basically drain the pond down, and then hopefully around November, December, start some dredging and get in there. And we anticipated that to get to the middle of the pond, it would just be too mucky and too mushy. Maybe we would be able to. That's just something that I guess we're just not sure of at this point. We expected that we'd only be able to, get out the distance that the long reach excavator would reach, based on how far in it could go before, it was on soft land.
Is there a live water going through it all the time, or is there a stream going through there?
There is a stream underneath. We don't see a lot of, right now, because of the drought, there is not a large stream of water that is moving through it at this point. Would you agree?
It's mostly ephemeral.
Yeah.
Mostly ephemeral. I guess I would suggest that it seems like a lot of money to me to clean out a 5-acre pond. And, maybe you ought to get a second opinion and talk to some other contractors around here that have.
Well, we have actually talked to a few. This was the most cost effective. The School of Mines estimated it at $270,000. I think
had
it
one
was.
company come out and say they would do half of it and leave the dirt there, and it'd be $180,000.
And so the contractor that we're working on with right now is going to excavate for approximately $100,000, and then the rest of it would be us. The remaining monies would be, for us to repair the sides, rock riprap, and all that. And so that's where that number comes from.
Not solely just the dredging, but it would be improvements to reclimate if there were to be any more issues of heavy overrun from deluges of rains, we'd be able to have a sediment catch pond that can be just a backhoe reach on everything to maintenance that every year or 2 or 3 years as we see fit. Whereas that would stop the pond from receiving sediment in the future. It just wasn't set up that way to begin with because it was a stock pond and everything. And it wouldn't take much for that to be rectified or created. But yeah, this being a drought year, a lot of the pond is exposed. And we were hoping to jump on it in a not expedited manner, but yeah, this year, and we weren't fully prepared beforehand because of when the HOA can meet for meetings and things like that. So we do really appreciate your listening ears and your input as well.
Any other comments, questions?
So just to clarify, if this is something we came and said, if we as an HOA came up with a certain amount of money, would you match that? Would that be something that you say you guys do in the past or work with people that way? Is it more of a matching thing that we need to do, or just for?
Most of the projects that we worked on, we're not, we're giving money for projects like that, but not even 50%. I mean, it's a way smaller percentage of the project than what you're asking here today. So I don't see anybody wanting to do any action here tonight. So, but we appreciate you coming here and telling us what you got there. And I mean, if you talk to people about how much it's going to cost, I mean, I was just looking at the cost, and it seemed like it was pretty high for, like Ron says, the cost per cubic yard to haul that out there seems awful high for that small of a surface area.
We agree. We agree. We are quite shocked. We've been working on this probably for 2 years now, actually probably longer when Matt started working on it. And every time we get close to it, we just get discouraged. Eric O'Connor came out there because they were gonna burn the cattails for us, and this has been 2 years, but every time we get where he can come burn them, we get windy, and then they get too green and we can't do it. So we've been trying to do that for years, and it's not, you know, we bring in more groups that need to bring in this, and then we need to do this and we need to do that, and pretty soon, you know, something we're like, oh, we could do this for 50,000, and everybody's looking at us like, shh, no, you can't. And my thing is it's not so much as a community. I come from a place where we have water everywhere we look. So, you know, to me, it seems like we don't see as much water here, water recreation or water use. And it's sad for me to watch every single year this pond getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and it's just going to be gone. So that's what we're, it's not like we're saying we just want somebody to pay the bill and we're not willing to do anything. We kind of, our hope was, we heard about this, we didn't even know this was a thing, that this is where tax dollars go to this, and you guys look at projects for water, and we'd never heard of that, so we said, okay, we're gonna put in this. We had an emergency meeting because we wanted to put some skin in the game, so we agreed on doing $12,000 of the dam work ourselves. And then our thought process is just seeing what, if there is any way, we're not asking you, like, if you could pay the whole thing, we're asking what you could help with, and then we could go back to our community and say, hey, they came up with this kind of a grant, and we would like to submit to the rest of the HOA if we could come up with whatever we need. We're all about listening to feedback. We've talked about draining the pond and bringing equipment and whatever we can do. I mean, we're out there with weed whackers and hacksaws and chainsaws doing a lot of the work itself. So it's not like we're sitting back and saying, hey, do all the work for us, and we're just going to come and, you know, on our, you know, just come enjoy it. We're really trying to put in the work that we're trying to save a pond that will be gone in 5 years. So we're just asking for assistance to save this. And we appreciate you guys having us here.
It's like Dan Driscoll's got a comment.
On our Canyon Lake dredging project, which obviously benefited thousands of people, I don't recall the particulars, but it seems as if perhaps West Dakota purchased the dredge, or do you remember?
We purchased directly.
Dan, City of Rapid City put some amount of funding into it, and then Game and Fish provided all of the manpower, you know, operating that dredge, which actually took parts of at least 2 seasons.
Yeah,
So I mean,
it was a long
so anyhow, there were a lot of other contributions there. You know, like it's pointed out, for something that's in essence a private area. I mean, to bring in Game and Fish as a partner is probably a pretty low likelihood. I like to find ways to make things like this happen, to be able to contribute. It's kind of a long shot. You know, the sediment coming out could be used for projects like we're talking about on our 319 project, basically to be used as dirt for revegetation. And I batted this around with Director Bierke just a little bit, and he said, well, it's pretty nasty shale. I said, yeah. You know, I get to thinking, you know, it's got organic matter, and it could be used. We've actually got a conceptual project for the road cut on the west side of 79 there. It was damaged by road construction, and it's never been revegetated properly. And, you know, DOT could be a partner with us on that. On the east side, it's, I believe, owned by the same property owner that developed it. There's a lot of erosive area that would basically be their responsibility. To work in a little piece like that would be a very small part of it, but you know, I think the main bottom line would be, it would take a lot of other partners out there, and I think West Dakota's contribution would be on the small side as opposed to a major side. But if there's a way to make it palatable for us, you know, I'm all for trying to help with these sort of things. This one will take probably a lot of innovation.
All right. Well, any recommendations you have, we're more than willing to do the legwork, talk to other people who we might be able to partner with to get it done. So we just appreciate any type of feedback we can get.
You know, when they built those dams back in the days, I mean, there was like a lot of that was government money. I'm not sure what sort of organization it was, but the farmers and ranchers that were digging dugouts basically for livestock, they put money into it, but there was government programs available to help build those things initially. And I think there's probably programs, and I'm not sure who it would be with, that, because they have to dig them out every once in a while too, you know, these stock dams, because you see those clamshells out there mucking out dirt when you're driving around the state, you know. And but I think the initial construction was probably some kind of a government program way back then. And but I don't know what organization that would be.
Probably the precursor to the NRCS.
Precursor to the NRCS.
More or less.
Have you talked to them
Some
at
of them
all?
were CCC, some of them were WPA.
Yeah, you might talk to them and see if they've got a program for,
Okay.
you know, their local government organization. Matter of fact, they're involved with this program that we're talking about out there in Rapid Valley.
Okay.
With Pennington County Conservation. They actually have engineers that design stuff too, you know, for erosion control and bank stabilization. So that was one of the reasons that we simply helped fund it.
Okay.
But they haven't done anything yet.
Okay.
It's still on the books.
Just one other comment.
Sure.
And you know, you've probably done all your due diligence, but sometimes it pays to go to talk to contractors who have previously done these kind of projects.
Yes.
So maybe you've already done that.
Well, that's where Terrasite kind of came in. This is actually one of 4 projects they're doing right now that are very similar to this.
Right.
And we found them just because there were a lot of contractors we have reached out to that just, they don't have any interest in it because it's not the right size. You know, it's a little bit of a niche. It's not big enough to warrant the large, like, main line and some of the other ones we reached out to. Yeah, so it's been a little bit of a challenge. So we did finally find Terrasite, and they've been great to work with. They've been out and looked at it a couple times. They're doing 4 different, like I said, 4 different type dam situations like this. So we're hoping that that relationship is going to be able to turn us on to some things as well. So
Well, when you're dealing with contractors, obviously, so they probably know people that do that kind of work in the construction business.
yeah, that's because the people who, as Lisa mentioned, who have given us quotes, you know, they've been so high. You know, we finally found an independent contractor that was willing to excavate for substantially less, given that we were willing to put some of the skin in the game and do some of the work after the fact to move dirt, etc.
We just did a project with the Boy Scout camp up at Medicine Mountain.
Oh, sure.
And a lot of that was some volunteer, but RCS construction here in Rapid
Did you contact the?
did allow that work for us.
Okay.
Kind of as a benefit to the Boy Scouts.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, we can definitely do some more investigating there.
Okay, well, thanks for coming.
To RCS, you probably should. They were very experienced in this kind of project.
Okay.
You've done more than a few.
Yeah, RCS construction would be a good one to have them go out and take a look at it at least.
Okay.
You know.
We will do that. I'll reach out to them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thanks for coming.
You bet. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, they're hard.
They're all the way to that.
Well, we're down to the chairs comments. I don't really have anything. We've already talked about some of the things I've been involved with the projects that we've got going here, so I'll move it on to the items from directors.
Okay.
I've got one, and actually, they might want to listen in on it. It's somewhat related, but you know, I stopped on the way out here and drove up north of the racetrack and looked at the sediment retention dam on the north side of the racetrack. So we have talked with Pennington County about a potential sediment removal project there, and so there's a lot of similarities. The big difference is that, you know, it's pretty unique. The racetrack is built on a drainage, and they basically filled it in, and they've got a pipe underneath it that now constitutes the drainage. And the county has a drainage easement for that dam. It's actually owned by the owner of the racetrack, but there's an easement, and so they trap sediment there, and it's essentially full. And I went and looked at it today just thinking, well, they say that the water tends to go down in the fall, and it has a bit. So you can see the sediment out there. To pump the water out would require very little. And so, our interest there, it would be a partnership, with the county, and basically allow, enhanced sediment retention for the future. But a lot of the same considerations, how do you get the material out of there? Like Ron says, front-end loaders are much more cost efficient if the material's dry enough to work in. And our intent there had been that in essence we could harvest that sediment and use it for erosion control projects that we've got on the drawing board. So conceptually, things like this can be a fit. The challenge here is, a public entity like that and a widespread benefit as opposed to a homeowners group. I think that drives us towards essentially a minimal contribution, but we're always open to helping trade ideas, and sometimes we do come up with ideas.
I do have a question. Who owns the streets out there? Are they county streets? Or you have a
road district?
You have a road district, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess just to clarify, if we continue to work on this and we find other partners, do we resubmit to you guys?
Yeah, you'd have a different budget.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to know what the process was, so if I should just resubmit a request with all the new information, and then we'll just kind of go through the process
Come back
again?
and see how you're progressing.
Okay, all right.
I was thinking if they're county street, the county, you pay way more taxes to the county than they do to us.
Yeah.
And a lot of times if it was a county road out there, they might, they got heavy equipment. They can maybe help out too. That's the county. Maybe they'll help you.
Okay. Well, those are all great ideas. So.
Well, I think to help, I'm one of today's 7 votes. 9 come December when we're back to full strength, or at least 8. But in ballpark numbers, if someone come along and said, could we contribute 10% of a project total, I'd probably be saying, well, that could be realistic. That's just a ballpark.
Sure.
And
well, that helps us because, like Lisa had mentioned, we're just kind of getting into this and we're learning as we go, and
of course she's the board.
But we're not afraid of the work. So we'll keep reaching out, we'll keep working, and if we get to something that sounds like it's a little bit more palatable to you guys, well, I'll just bother you and submit again. So.
Well, we do appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, thank you. And if you're laying in bed and all of a sudden an idea hits you, you have my email address. Reach out, and I'm more than willing to listen to any ideas you have. So.
Okay, thanks, Robin. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks a lot, everybody.
Thanks for coming.
Have a great night.
Yeah. Is there any other directors' items?
Where are we at with our one vacancy?
Where are we at with the vacancy?
Yeah.
With the
We've got the one that's being filled by election, but
the would-be seat 5. Have you received any?
We only had one.
No, it's been, it's on our website, the announcements.
yeah, but we've not had anybody bite on it yet.
Nobody's been interested.
Nobody rolled in the door yet?
No, I haven't been able to, haven't had to fight off anybody. But that requires a petition.
Mm-hmm.
So it's only 25 signatures.
It'd take much to get 25 signatures.
Yeah.
I've talked to Jay, and she was working on some of the cleanups for the Water District statutes about throwing in there an amendment on that so we could just appoint the vacancy for the unexpired term.
Oh, you
rather
were?
than going through the darn petition process. So we'll somehow hit base with it again after the election, and maybe even one of our own people would carry that.
Yeah.
It's an odd provision. I've never encountered anything quite like that.
Didn't, and I don't mean to steal your thunder, Dan, but didn't you forward something to the board just this afternoon that Jay was working on?
Yeah.
Exactly
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Did you see it? Yeah. Did you see that?
My email's been down for the last 3-4
Yeah.
days. So
Jay called me today.
He's in the process.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, good. Any other items from directors? All right, Dan, it's your turn.
Okay, just find a mic here. Talked to Sandra McLean from Keystone about the bridge on Winter Street. It's still not done. They had a bid for $179,000, which they rejected, so they're working on getting that down. I think Director McGregor asked me about, was it you, about bonding for the, question about bonding for the directors?
Or bonding of the treasurer.
The treasurer, yeah.
Okay. I'm bonded. I talked to Jay, he's bonded, and he is also the treasurer of East Dakota Water Development District, but he said in their insurance policy they have something called errors and omissions that protect the directors. I don't think we have anything like that. But that's what they do. There's PFOS now up by the airport, Rita Krebs told me. Jay's email, read that about the legislation. Tonight, and I may catch it, well, it's at 5 at our office, they're having a nonprofit fun fest or something with, and the reason I mentioned it is because they told me, well, if you guys need volunteers, this might be, for like Star Village or something, might be a good avenue to get them, so maybe I'll check that out. And the well here is at 3,700 feet. I heard they broke a bit and had to fish it out.
They did get it fished out?
I think so.
That's tough.
And that's all I had, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you.
So they're not done drilling yet?
I guess not. I thought they were going to go down to 3,900.
Looked to me like they were kind of
Maybe it's
They, I mean, that's about how deep that Madison is, about 3,700 feet.
maybe it's still broken. I don't know. That's what the secretary told me, though. I didn't want to bring it up because they might be in a bad mood about it. So.
Yeah.
A little more on Black Cap Homewaters. Our water sources, there's two Madison wells that the developer retained ownership of, and he provides the water service.
Oh, okay. Was it warm water then?
Pardon?
It's got to be warm water if it's Madison.
Yeah, no, it's not particularly warm, no. It's just coming up, it's on a gravity flow, the wells and the reservoir up in the hill.
Oh.
How deep are they?
I think about 3,300, 3,500, somewhere in there.
Certainly.
Jeff Loggy and his sister developed
Right,
the
it's expensive.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
And maintenance.
Jeff and Jennifer.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
All right. I know we got one item from the public.
True. You'll bear with me. I'll try to keep
Barry
it as possible.
Barry has the floor.
I'm Barry Muxon, if you don't know me, I'll pass these out. As you may be aware, there's a proposal for a mineral withdrawal in Dakota watershed, around Dakota at part of Rapid Creek. And Forest Service is opposing that. And we want to encourage them to do so. And this is what this comment period is about. We would also, I personally would like to see it expanded to the whole watershed, eventually to all the Black Hills, to protect all the water. But this would be a 20-year withdrawal moratorium, no mining, no new mining could take place. That's the only activity that would be prohibited. All other activities are okay, RV, fishing, hunting, whatever, camping. And any mine that's currently being utilized is still gets kind of grandfathered in. And the deadline is the 21st of October, and there's a signing event, or a comment event down at Hay Camp tonight at 5:30. there'll be people there to help you out, and there'll be food from Bachelor Bison. And I'm pretty sure they'll sell you a beer or two if you ask, so. Any questions?
I'm glad somebody's working on this.
Yeah.
I'm glad somebody's working on
It's
this.
the Rapid Creek Watershed Action Group that are funding it. They're sponsoring the event tonight. That's Scott Harriman.
Yeah.
And they're doing good work, and we're just trying to help them out, so.
Okay, well, thanks for bringing this.
Sure. Glad to do it. Sorry I have to do it, I guess.
No, that's good.
Has to be done.
Thanks again, Barry.
You bet.
Meeting adjourned.
See you next time.
Barry, have you got a couple minutes before you leave?
Well, I have a 5 o'clock appointment downtown.
Okay, I've got